America's #1 show on pop culture and politics. This is the Michael Medved Show.
And another great day in this greatest nation on God's green earth. And I was asked a great question in this great nation in the middle of the night last night after the House of Representatives voted disastrously 219 to 212 to push Obamacare onto the people of the United States of America. I was asked a question, is there anything good to come out of this bill? And I quickly answered, look, I think the only good thing is it unified Republicans. President Obama has done something that had looked to be impossible, which is to unify all of the 41 Republicans in the U.S. Senate, to unify all of the 178 Republicans in the United States House, all in opposition to this bill. So what do you do with that unity? How do you fight back? How do you move the country in the right direction? Nobody better to talk to about that than a man I greatly admire. I'm proud to call him friend, Senator John McCAIN, the senior senator from Arizona, and one of the leaders in the United States Senate in fighting against Obamacare. Senator, what's next in terms of the resistance?
Well, the first thing is the so-called reconciliation. Also, I think at the same time, because the president, I understand, will sign the bill into law tomorrow, is the beginning of the court challenges. There are significant questions about the constitutionality of this legislation, ranging from the disparate impact on different states because of the sweetheart deals they did, ranging from does the government have the right to force every one of its citizens to purchase health insurance, and a number of issues in between. And as you know, there are attorneys generals from several states and governors who are ready to bring that forward. I'm going to try to, and along with some of my colleagues, to have an expedited process for challenges, expedited procedures in the courts, so that it doesn't take long for that to be decided. Then, of course, the reconciliation fight will go on, where they will, as you know, the Speaker told the Democrats and the President told the Democrats that they would fix whatever problems they had with this so-called reconciliation.
Fix us all right.
You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. We have 41 Republicans who have signed a letter saying we will not vote for any changes because, in fact, this process is a wrong one. It's a bad one, and if we continue down this path, we will, as the former senator from Illinois, then now President Barack Obama said, it would destroy the concepts and principles of our founding fathers if we went to the 51 vote route.
Yeah, and that's where we are now. Now, Senator, you ran against your former colleague Barack Obama for President of the United States. Mm-hmm. You know him a little bit. Mm-hmm. Are you a little bit surprised how stubbornly far to the left he has conducted his presidency?
I'm of two minds. One is that we probably should have known it, given his voting record, which indicated that he was the most liberal senator in the whole United States Senate. But the campaign rhetoric, as you know, was very different. Change the climate in Washington, be inclusive, have C-SPAN in the health care reform negotiations, all of those promises that the president made, and very eloquently made them, that I think had me doubting as to whether he would perform as president in the way that he did as a United States senator. As it is, as you said, he's governing from the far left. Who thought during the campaign that we would own Chrysler and General Motors? Who thought we would own GMAC? Who thought we would continue to pour tens or hundreds of billions into Freddie and Fannie? Who thought that that there would be this massive intervention in the quality of the healthcare system in America, the 1/6 of our gross national product, and then try to fix it with a 51 vote or put fixes into it in a 51 vote margin. Michael, I don't know if you saw it or not, but the Wall Street Journal today had a piece entitled "Inside the Pelosi Sausage Factory."
Yep.
And I hope you'll have time to quote some from it. But I just had town hall meetings out in Arizona over the weekend on Saturday in Prescott, Arizona, and down in the East Valley of Phoenix, and actually out in Chandler, Arizona, and people are madder than many hundreds came, and they're angry, they're upset, they're frustrated, and this thing is not over by a long shot. I mean, somehow I think inside the Beltway, I understand they were drinking champagne last night in their celebration. They think the American people are going to forget about this. They think the American people are going to forget about this sleaze that's going on. The passion that I see out there, not only Americans not going to forget it, they're going to retaliate. And I think you're going to see a repeal now movement begin the day the president signs the bill.
At least to repeal the most obnoxious, the most
Yes.
costly elements of this. Everybody has his or her own favorite idiocy about the bill and the arguments for the bill. My personal favorite is the notion that this is actually going to reduce our national deficit.
It's worse than ludicrous. It is the worst kind of deception, and I think, if I could, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but
I want
the
you to.
most egregious, and there are many egregious parts of it, is putting into the calculation, giving the Office of Management and Budget, the Congressional Budget Office, the Congressional Budget Office gives the best estimates given the assumptions that they receive. It's the old garbage in, garbage out saying, and I trust the Congressional Budget Office. I don't trust the assumptions that they were given. The best example is the so-called doc fix, which means the reimbursement rate for physicians who treat Medicare enrollees, okay? Right now, the way it is, that sometime this fall, there will be a 21% cut in reimbursement for physicians. You know that's not going to happen. They've spread the word. That's not going to happen. Already we have more and more doctors refusing to treat Medicare patients, right? So we're going to cut their reimbursement by 21%, but they crank that into the assumptions that the Congressional Budget Office gave out in order to disguise one of the ways to disguise the real cost of this legislation. It's outrageous. Equally outrageous is I'm sure you've mentioned on the show, 4 years of taxes and cuts and benefits before any of the subsidies or benefits, or most of the benefits don't kick in. That's Bernie Madoff accounting.
But it is, and one of the things that is also incredible to me is the notion that new people are going to start buying insurance right away. They're not required to. They don't have this mandate, doesn't kick in until President Obama is, quote, safely reelected in 2014.
But immediately people with pre-existing conditions will have to be included, and that drives up the cost of the premiums for everybody else. And we Republicans, by the way, wanted to take money from federal and state governments, put them into a risk pool, have the insurance companies bid on those pools to provide insurance for people with pre-existing conditions. So don't say that we didn't want that to care for people with pre-existing conditions. We just didn't want to set up a government bureaucracy to do it.
Well, and your colleague and friend John Shadegg of Arizona was one of the leaders in that regard. We talked to him about it twice, about setting up these risk pools, which could have helped people with pre-existing conditions.
Sure, and I would also remind you that I wanted to give every American family a $5,000 refundable tax credit to go any place in America and get the health insurance of their choice. That would have taken care of 30 million people. But it wouldn't have been through massive government intervention.
Right. That is a bottom-up rather than a top-down reform. Exactly the beauty of it. In terms of the future, would I be correct, Senator, in guessing that most of the fights are now going to be just about this unsustainable level of spending, the $38 trillion in unfunded Medicare obligations, the $1.6 trillion deficit that we have? What are we going to do about this?
Well, there's going to come crunch time, obviously, and everything. One or two things are going to happen. We're either going to act to bring spending under control, or you will see a debasement of the currency, which leads to rampant inflation, which is the greatest enemy of middle-income Americans. There's the only two ways that that you can go when you are running massive deficits. And by the way, again, it's so horrifying. We are going to have a $1.4 trillion deficit this year. Guess what it is next year? $1.5 trillion. That's their estimate.
And that's before, and every single, this is a point that George Will makes today, every single time in the past when we've had some kind of medical care program with the federal government, the costs are way higher than they anticipate. We have a few minutes more with Senator John McCAIN, senior senator from Arizona, trying to find a new direction to take us in the aftermath of the passage last night by the House of Obamacare. We'll be right back with your calls and John McCAIN.
1-800.
21 minutes after the hour on the Michael Medved Show, your daily dose of debate. The debate continues about health care because my guest, John McCAIN, truly a guest who needs no introduction. As he puts it, the American people have a much longer attention span on this issue than people like Nancy Pelosi or Barack Obama seem to believe.
They seem to believe, Michael, that all these wonderful benefits will kick in, despite the fact you hear from people like Caterpillar Corporation, who says they're going to pay $100 million in additional taxes next year, which, what do you think that does to their job strategy? But anyway, they think that somehow the American people will forget about it and move on. I don't think they will. I have not seen a depth of passion as I've observed in the town hall meetings across the state of Arizona. And let me quickly add, it's not just health care. It's the $12 trillion deficit. It's the $2 trillion we have added to the deficit since President Obama took office. It is the ongoing spending spree of unbelievable proportions. We see something we like it, spend $1 billion, spend a couple of billion, spend $3 billion, and I've never seen anything like the spending spree that's going on here, particularly in light of the way Americans are hurting and state governments are hurting.
That's exactly right. Let's go to Steve in Chicago. Steve, you're on the Michael Medved Show with Senator McCAIN.
Welcome to the country, guys. The fraud that this program perpetrates on the people that won't be alive in 2014 who pay the money, I think, is the real question here. It's probably going to be more than $100 million that people are going to pay, and they will not be alive in 2014 due to the rate that people pass away in the system. Unlike Social Security, it passes on to your dependents. But I think it's really ludicrous that this would be sold as money that is saved when it's actually money that's taken from the American people.
Well, you're exactly right, and the gimmickry is incredible, this new program to provide long-term care that Senator Reid puts in. Obviously, initially, people will be paying into it, but later on, it will be paid out just as those people who enrolled begin to age and become eligible for the program or have eligibility. It's one grand Bernie Madoff accounting, Enron accounting kind of a deal. And again, I don't think the American people are unaware. I think they're very aware, and they mind the process as much as the product. The Cornhusker kickback, the Louisiana Purchase, the deal for pharma. How many ads have you seen touting this health care reform paid for by the pharmaceutical companies of America who are making billions off of this deal because of what they cut in the deal they cut in the White House? I mean, we cannot re-import drugs from Canada now. There will not be competition from the generic prescription drug companies. It is. I mean, well, I'm sorry I get started. Let's have another call.
No, it's good that you get started. Let's talk to Alan in Chicago. You're on the Michael Medved Show with John McCAIN.
Hi, gentlemen. How are you today? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just read an article yesterday, as a matter of fact, about Americans' inability to have long memories about things like this. I oppose the health care law, but the article went on to talk about how within 10 years, we'll all think that socialized medicine is a wonderful thing, and we'll not understand why we never had it before. And and that our short-term memory of disdain or upsettedness over this whole thing will probably be gone within 18 to 24 months.
Okay, comment John McCain.
Alan does have a point there, because whenever people have entitlements, then of course they enjoy them. But the problem is there's no way to sustain the funding of it. That's going to come crashing down. And also, Alan, I would remind you, especially from Chicago, back, I think it was 1994, we passed a thing called the Catastrophic Insurance Program. And then Congressman Rostenkowski got hit over the head with a sign by a little old lady, and they came back and they repealed catastrophic.
Right.
So it's not without precedent. But Alan does have a good point. But the fact is that the country is broke. I mean, we are bankrupting the country. That's the problem with all this. So it can't continue on. For example, Medicare is going to go broke in 7 years. So what are we going to do? We're going to start taking it out of general revenues. How long can you do that, Michael?
No, I mean, especially with a $1.6 and $1.5 trillion deficit. Let's go to John in Louisville, Kentucky. You're on the MedVed Show with Senator John McCain.
Yes, I'd like to ask Senator McCain when he's going to stop licking his wounds, stand up, and be a true American and work together with people instead of trying to block everything and complain about everything.
Well, thank you, John. But the point, I'm having as good a time as I've ever had. I'm honored to have been able to serve this country. I'm honored to have been the nominee of my party. I am having a great time. I'm going to do what's right for this country. The fact is, John, that I'm standing up for the people that I represent in Arizona. This administration is governing from the far left. My constituents never thought we would own General Motors, Chrysler, Freddie and Fannie, AIG, all this stuff that we have been through, and spend money, if I may use the phrase, like a drunken sailor, only the bar is still open. So, John, I'm the same principles that I had before. This president said he would govern change the climate in Washington. No one believes that.
Well, let's go to Toby. Yeah, he's changed it for the worse. Toby in San Antonio, Texas. You're on the Michael Medved Show with Senator McCain.
Hi, Toby.
Hey, gentlemen. Mike, I was wondering what would happen if we applied the same principles to the legal services industry that they apply to the medical industry?
So,
I mean, don't you find it outrageous that a rich man can get a really, really good lawyer and pay hundreds of dollars an hour, and a poor man has to get some public defender? Why don't we create a giant bureaucracy that we'll pay into it, and we'll all get free legal services, and then the government can set prices on that. I mean, we could pay lawyers up to maybe, say, $50 an hour, and you can go and get whatever you want from whatever lawyer you need, and that's just the way. And that way,
Senator McCain, you like that proposal?
Toby, you have given me a great line. I will give you credit for this idea for the first 2 or 3 times that I mention it, and then I'll claim it as my own. Thank you, Toby, for that. That is a great comparison. This is worth being on this show today. That is fantastic.
No,
how does the people who want this massive health care reform respond to that?
Well, and how do they respond to the fact that everybody in the country knows that one sure way to lower medical care costs would be to stop the defense of medicine and to have meaningful tort reform, totally blocked by the special interests who helped to write this bill? I know, speaking of bills, you have to go and cast a vote, Senator.
Well, I got 1 more minute. Let me just say that's really such a good point, because it's not just the lawyers. It's the practice of defensive medicine, which some have estimated to be $100 billion a year. That's one of the real outrages of this whole thing. And Michael, thank you for having me on. Thanks for your great work. Come to Arizona and visit us. I think you're going to be traveling around the country. We'd love to have you back.
I am. Look forward. I'll be in Arizona April 12th. John McCain, despite what our caller from Louisville said, keep standing up for the American people and for your constituents in Arizona. We will be right back.